the nation's capital.
You're a wonderful writer.
That's very kind of you to say.
Oh,
Thank you.
Very kind of you to write.
Gosh. First today. We're going to Martin's Tavern in Georgetown, where the young Senator JFK used to go for his breakfast. Yeah, that's good. Just keep charging around here as rapidly as we can. Why do I not think that Christianity is good for the world? We have come, ladies and gentlemen, to this.
Do we have everything to fear, including fear itself, as you have once said before?
We have everything to fear, including fear itself, and the bad news hasn't yet hit, I don't think.
I think you may be right.
We're born into a losing struggle. No one has ever beaten these odds. I've looked up ahead, or if you prefer, down the road. I know what's coming. I know no one beats these odds. And it's a matter of getting used to that and growing up and realizing that you're expelled from your mother's uterus as if shot from a cannon towards a barn door studded with old nail files and rusty hooks. It's a matter of how you use up the intervening time in an intelligent and ironic way and try not to do anything ghastly to your fellow creatures. That leaves us with the question of why should we care? Somehow I'm glad that at least that bit of our innate nature is useful. But if we praise ourselves for what's innate, we're going to be praising a lot of very unpleasant things too. And there's no way around that. There's only the pretense that there's a way around it.
So we do have everything to fear, including fear itself.
And to add, by the way, and also, if you ask me, I think we have free will. And how do I know that? Because we have no choice but to have free will.
Are you?
And some of it's in that song that we
Yes.
from Woolloomooloo?
Well, I think it was actually the University of Woolloomooloo. Yes.
Woolloomooloo, so I knew I was pronouncing it. Yeah,
Yes.
It is. It's the
Aristotle was a bugger for the
Aristotle,
bottle.
yeah, Plato, yes. Never mind. John Stuart Mill, of his own free will, on half a pint of shandy, got spectacularly ill. But Plato, they say, could stick it away. Half a crate of whiskey every day. And of course Aristotle was a bugger for the bottle. Thomas Hobbes was a slave to his dram, and René Descartes was pissed as a fart. I drink, therefore I am.
Okay. If my wife was
How the hell did that happen?
Yeah, I don't really know.
Yes, Socrates himself is particularly missed. Lovely little thinker, but bugger when he's pissed.
There's something about the raising of the wrist.
There's nothing Nietzsche couldn't teach about the raising of the wrist.
Yes, okay. Let's get
Manuel
serious.
Kant was a real pissant. Very seldom stable. Martin Heidegger was a boozy beggar. He could think you under the table. David Hume could out-consume Schopenhauer and Hegel.
Hegel, yes, there you go.
And Wittgenstein was a boozy swine who was just as sloshed as Schlegel. My first job, it was very important to me, because in those days you had to be a member of the union to get a job in Fleet Street in London journalism. And I couldn't get into the union, so I couldn't get a job, and if you couldn't get a job, you couldn't get a union card. But finally there was a new job created for a new magazine. I could still pronounce its horrible name, the London Times Higher Education Supplement. And because I was hired for a new job, I didn't need to join the union. It was a new creation. So I got job and union card, and I was so proud, so happy. And I was the social science editor. And I cannot tell you how boring it was, and how bad I was at it. Now I would literally watch the clock as the long day crept by. But it was a job, and it brought me to London, and it made me a member of the National Union of Journalists. And it was everything I'd wanted, and it made me miserable. And finally I was so bad at it that this couldn't be concealed from the editor any longer. And I got the sack, very traditionally in Britain, I got the sack on Christmas Eve. And I was very depressed. I thought, how am I ever going to recover? I'll never get another job. Maybe I can't even keep my union card, but I still sometimes think about it and think, if I'd been any good at that job, I might still be doing it. We are a very poor species as it happens now. I mean, anyone who examines themselves with any honesty has to know that the theory of evolution is correct. Not every theory, there are several theories. It's not true to say evolution is only a theory. There are many competing theories of evolution. We know that it occurred, though. We just don't know exactly
Why? In each case. Our prefrontal lobes are too small, much too small. That's probably the birth canal, I'm very sorry to say, for those who like their birth canals tight. For which I think there'll always be a demand. Were there to be looser ones, the skull could have a chance to. Prefrontal lobe is too fucking small. Okay? The adrenaline gland, by contrast, is much too big. We don't need that much adrenaline anymore. We don't need the fight or flight. We're equipped for far more adrenaline than we need. The oppositional thumb is a bit of a sort of hand job. It's all very disappointing. The urinary tract don't start. You know, so we're very imperfectly evolved mammals, but we have all we've got is the poor candle of reason and irony. But until we stop being afraid of death or the dark, we will, I think, continue to be very primitive. And the moments of enlightenment will be very few and very vulnerable. And so we should cherish the ones that we do have. And not.
It was made better by Lionel Trilling. So the remarkable thing about Orwell, and the encouraging thing, is this: he's not a genius. He lived only 46 years. He never went to university. He never had a steady job. He usually didn't have a steady publisher. But he will never be forgotten because he managed to disprove imperialism, Stalinism and fascism in one lifetime, and make some imperishable raids on its territory that no one's ever going to forget. All of the time ill, all of the time poor. It shows how much difference a person of really average integrity and intelligence and education can make if they have a little courage and a little intellectual honesty. And of course the shortcomings of the individual you can see in him too. But he basically won his own battle against his own prejudices. This is an example for all time. What animals there were in Australia? There are no dinosaurs in Genesis. It's just that they are in creation. What am I making by way of an observation here? The simplest possible one. What are the odds that God created man when stacked against the odds that man created God? I submit that there is only one possible answer to that question. In return for this total abolition of your self-respect, this conviction of having done wrong, you're told, but there's good news. The universe, the whole constellation, the whole celestial globe, the whole thing was designed with you in mind. So you can be, from someone totally abject and totally shamed, a complete solipsist, a raging egomaniac, the center of the universe, someone for whom it's all been planned. And not only that, but God has a plan for you too. And not only that, he was prepared to subject one of his children to revolting torture to prove his love. If you'd been present when that sacrifice, that human sacrifice was going on, you would have been in duty bound to try and stop it. But if you did, you wouldn't have been saved. If you'd done the moral thing and said, stop this now, I can't watch a human sacrifice, I can't watch someone being crucified. Stop it. No. You do that, you've missed your chance for salvation. This is madness. This is madness. And how many generations of humans went by not even knowing of this fantastic idea, dying in misery and ignorance and shame before it was suddenly decided, maybe I'll torture a son to death today and rescue the rest of them. Who can believe this? It's an insult, it seems to me, to self-respect in both ways. It hugely aggrandizes our importance in the scheme of things, and it greatly diminishes us as autonomous individuals. And Lucretius, and it goes through Galileo, and Newton, and Spinoza, and Voltaire, and Thomas Jefferson, and Thomas Paine, and Albert Einstein. We have a tradition that by all means understands about the transcendent, about the awe-inspiring. We have the Hubble telescope. We have the pages of Stephen Hawking. We have the extraordinary ethical scientism of Albert Einstein. We have nothing to be ashamed of. We have something really nutritious, the beauties of science and reason and the consolations of philosophy to offer people, and we're expected to be impressed by those who talk about the burning bush. So, time for resistance. To the extent that I can help to ignite it, I'm very proud for myself. To the extent that you might want to join in, I hope you will all consider yourselves incredibly welcome. Thank you so much for coming.